Got it.
Yay!
Thank goddess. That was the most epic experience of my life. Well, maybe not. Well, we get to record this and upload it to whatever platform will have it.
Okay, no problem.
Wow, you look amazing.
With all my great look.
Yeah, and you've donned your favorite color, I see.
But yes, I said, look at, and I have my ring on.
Wow.
I
So,
said yes.
goddess archetypes. Tell me what caught your attention about this.
It just resonated with me straight away, and I just thought, I'm often thinking about ancestors. I often think about Celtic connections, and I often think about, like, there's different legends and myths about different women, strong women in Ireland. For example, there's one woman called Grania Whale that they talk about, and she was a pirate queen, and she was around the same time as Queen Elizabeth II. And it's said that they met, but neither of them liked each other because they were two super powerful women that existed, simultaneously, which was quite unusual at the time, But there's all
Awesome.
sorts of myths about this particular woman. She was a pirate queen, and she ruled the seas off the west coast of Ireland, and she was seemingly not to be trifled with, to put it, in small words. Yeah.
Wow. So can you tell us her name again?
Grania is an Irish name. Grania Whale. Grace O'Malley. Grace O'Malley in English. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Grace O'Malley. Yeah.
And so what is it about that story that spoke to you?
Because I have a tendency to be small, shall we say, and not allow my light to shine. And I grew up in a household with three brothers, and I didn't feel very feminine even now I still don't feel I tap into my feminine powers. But definitely as a girl growing up surrounded by so many men, and my mother wasn't particularly soft or feminine either, so it wasn't something that I'm used to or whatever. So it's something I've had to learn about myself. Yeah.
So was it the way that Grania combined the kind of strength and femininity that spoke to you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you previously have an idea that it was kind of femininity was associated with weakness?
Totally, and I would have it associated with this idea of, you're very feminine if you're blonde and you're beautiful, and that's as far as it went, and there was nothing else to it. But I've learned there's an awful lot more.
Yeah. It is what we want it to be, really, isn't it? And we can redefine it by the myths and heroines that we choose to draw from.
Absolutely, and each of them will have something that you take from them. Yeah, totally. Like, one of my favorite movies is Brave. I love it.
Oh yeah. So tell us about that, the feminine in that.
Well, again, this is a young kid who didn't want to just accept that, she had to get married, and she fought tooth and nail because she just didn't feel it was the right thing for her. And she was able to convince her mother and her father that, in actual fact, she should be allowed to choose for herself. But it was, done in a very, maybe kids don't get that underlying theme, but I thought, wow, she's great,
I think they do. They always do on some level, don't they?
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's great. I think those kind of movies are great.
And so how is that true in your life? How is Brave true in your life?
I feel at the moment, with everything that's going on, with this whole pandemic, I've had to basically step outside my comfort zone and just step up and step into my power, because I'm teaching more yoga classes than ever before, and I'm being triggered by different things that are happening, and I'm having to just bust through anything that comes up and just not even soldier on, but just work through it, and not be afraid of it, not cower down, but just go, this is why I want to do this.
Okay, that's an interesting catch that you just caught yourself there, because you were like, at first you were like, soldier on.
Yeah.
And then you were like, no. So what's the difference?
Because I've often thought that in order for me to achieve anything, I have to work really hard to do it.
Mm.
Um, Whereas in actual fact, I've realized, no, I can actually choose to do different things, and I can have a flow in my life. And that's what I'm going with. That it's actually something that flows, and it's something that I really, really enjoy.
So how's that connected to the feminine for you?
Because I feel that I'm stepping into what is something that is my power, because I love this
Mm.
whole thing of working with people, even though it's more difficult doing it through a screen. Even like I use my hands an awful lot, particularly when I'm teaching yoga. And I even found that when I'm teaching online, I'll have my hands as if I'm placing them on a person. So it's like the muscle memory in
Yeah.
my hands, and I'll be doing shoulder shrugs, and I notice my students imitating me because I'm doing it, because normally I would have my hands on someone and helping their shoulder blades to loosen out, and they were doing the same thing with their hands. Oh, I must explain to them why I'm doing this. So I just feel that it's a way for me to just step in and be what I'm supposed to be. And I feel this has always been something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to share it. So, and I'm really
Mm.
happy that I'm doing it.
Amazing. So what I'm hearing is that you're claiming your feminine power,
Yeah.
and that sometimes you can get inspiration from kind of myths, films, um, legends, and stories of women who have claimed their power.
Yeah, even to the extent, Hannah, I don't know if I told you the story of my great grandmother, and even like my mother, her mother, and my great grandmother. It's an unusual story. Like a lot of Irish people have grandparents or great grandparents that left, and that is part of the story. My great grandmother met my great grandfather over in New York,
Mm.
in in New York City. They got married in St. Patrick's Cathedral. Her name was Kate McCarthy. He was Willie Ryan. She
Mm.
was running a boarding house, and he was renting a room there. That's where they met, in New York. They got married in St. Patrick's Cathedral, and they went up to Calgary. They had 3 children, but the kids, all we know is that the babies died very young.
Right.
So she asked, my mother told me this, that she asked her doctor, what do I need to do in order to have a child that lives? And that seemingly he said to her, you need to go back to Ireland. So they came back to Ireland, and I have a photograph that I found in my mother's house,
Mm.
of them in London, and she's like really fabulous, like they're both really fabulously well dressed. But they came back to Ireland, they came back to
Mm.
Tipperary. They had my grandmother and her brother, who died quite young. So my granny was the only surviving out of 5 kids. And then
Mm.
she got married to my grandfather, Nicholas Bennett, and then they had my mother and 7 other children, and here we are today.
So
But
what is that story? Why is that story so important to you? Apart from the fact that it's your genealogy, like what is it saying to you about your life?
that she was such a determined woman,
Mm.
Kate McCarthy, that she came back to Ireland. No, like once you left Ireland, like there's even a play about it called Philadelphia Here I Come. It's all about a wake, because that's what happened. They had a wake for all these people. A wake is normally a funeral that you have for people. When people left and emigrated, they had a party called a wake, even though they weren't dead, because people knew you would never see them again. And the fact that this woman
Wow.
was determined to come back, and it had to have been incredible for her to come back. But
Mm.
she wanted children so much and she persuaded her husband to come with her, and they
Wow.
started over again. They left. I don't know what kind of a life they left behind, but they came back to Tipperary again. I often wonder about it, like how did she feel coming back, having to give up whatever it was that they had. Like we know very little about it apart
Mm.
from that story.
And also, perhaps,
I
what
just
did she gain from? Well, obviously she managed to have children, but what else did she
But what
gain
else?
from?
At what cost? At what cost
Yeah.
did they both do that? And I have that photograph here with me. And it's funny. I found a photograph of my granny when she was about 20 with her friend of hers, and then there's a photograph of me and my mum, and I have them all together. And it's like there's the genealogy. Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm.
Wow. I love that. The kind of the way that you've chosen these very strong heroines to inspire you on your journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, did you want to hear about my goddesses that I'm kind of obsessed
absolutely.
with? Yeah. So really what I wanted to share about is the goddess Inanna and the story of her descent to the underworld. Because I really feel like this lockdown time is a time of retreat and a time of descent. So it's almost like we as a global population we're in uncharted territory, and I feel like the myths can help us in a way that they never have before, because that's what stories are for.
Yeah.
They help us to deal with what we've never navigated successfully, or what we want to navigate. And so the myth of Inanna, she wants to visit her sister, and to do so, she has to descend into the underworld. And her sister is the goddess of hell. So her sister is not nice. She has to go down, and she has to pass through the gates of hell, and there are 7 gates, and each gate she has to take off one piece of her like body armor that she wears, like her crown, her bracelets, her rings, like everything that is showing how important and powerful she is on the surface of the earth. She has to strip that off. I think that's a perfect metaphor for what we're going through and what we've been through up to this point. I know that now I feel like we're coming out of that stage, but certainly that myth has been really helpful to me going into this retreat process.
But what struck me as you were telling the story that she had to take off, because one of the themes that I was working on in yoga classes was this whole thing of shedding. You know, the way they talk about a snake sheds its skin.
Yeah.
And I just, for me, it's all about, okay, what do I need to let go of that's holding me back, that, you know, doesn't allow me to have the life that I see for myself. And that's the theme that I've been weaving into classes as well. So letting go, you know what I mean? Because you're taking off these things that are weighing you down, and allowing you to be whatever it is you need to be from now on.
Yeah, this idea of shedding is very powerful, and it reminds me of some work I did around comparing like the snake shedding its skin, comparing that to the menopause process.
Yeah.
And I think that is there's definitely some strong parallels there, with the sense that in order to grow, like the reptile has to literally take its skin off. And in some senses, going through these life transitions, like what we're going through now, but also like menopause, we have our old skin no longer fits, and it hurts, and our old way of being no longer works for us, and we actually have to step into a more powerful, step into a bigger, more powerful identity.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
And it hurts, you know, that process of taking off our old identity literally is painful.
Well, we cling to these things because we feel comfortable with them because they've been with us for so long, and we associate you know, our power with them, or whatever. We have this idea of they're an integral part of who we are, but it blocks us then from you know, from seeing what else we are, you know.
Yeah, so coming back to the Inanna myth, so she sheds her power symbols, which for us would be like shedding our job, our you know, stable income, all these things that we relied on, our position in society, you know, even like our social engagements, they give us some kind of sense of being powerful, and we were stripping away all that, and so she gets down to hell, and she gets trapped there. She can't get out because her sister decides to just hang her on a peg and refuse to let her leave because she's nasty. So luckily, she has a lover on the surface called Demuzi, and he comes down and he has to rescue her. But what ends up happening is, like, by the time they get up, she is annoyed at, like, she gets annoyed with him about something, and they come to an arrangement where he has to spend half the time down in hell. So it's like, but it's very similar to the myth of Demeter and Persephone, which is similar, where Persephone eats a piece of some kind of piece of fruit down in the underworld, and that means she has to stay and keep coming back regularly.
Okay.
And of course, what's happening here is these myths are explaining the seasons. They're explaining that you can't always, that once you've been down to those lower levels and those deep levels of introspection, you have to keep returning. Like, so we in our society, we think we can exist on the surface. We think we can get everything by getting a good job and just functioning on a high level. But then our subconscious keeps taking us down. You know, we get sick, we get depressed, we get something's wrong. And so we have to learn the art of consciously going down, consciously retreating, so that we can then cope with the ups and downs. So I think it's just really important for right now for us to realize that there are mythic archetypes pointing to the need for going within. That's my bag right now.
Yeah, and it's super interesting, but I think a lot of people find it very hard because we spend all our life doing, and so little time being, and that's what it's all about. Having time to go inside. A lot of people don't want to do that. Yeah.
No, because we associate it with being unhappy, and we associate being unhappy with being a bad person or being unable to cope or function. So I think it's really important to spread the word that it's okay to go down, it's okay to go inside.
Yeah.
As well as being a strong, high functioning female. There's this side that also we need to be a low functioning female. I think coming back to what you were talking about with stepping into your power, part of that process is learning to see the dark side of that power and the introspective side, not just kind of constantly sharing your light, but also going inside.
Yeah, totally. And one of the things, Hannah, that has happened here, because I'm in Madrid, we've had a week that we've been able to go out for a walk. So I've been going for a walk very early in the morning because obviously I live in the city centre. There's like millions of people. So, and we're still confined to walking on streets. They haven't opened the parks yet. Seemingly, if you live near a park, they leave you in, but technically you can be fined. So I get up today I got up before 7. So I saw the dawn, and I'm walking in it's a little garden. It's not fenced off, but a lot of people run around it or whatever. And that's where I go for my walk in the morning. And all I see are blackbirds and wrens and sparrows and like trees. It's just, it's amazing. And I just use it at the time, okay. And I'm looking at the sun rising and just trying to say, okay, there's a little bit of light here. There's a bit of sunshine going to be coming later. But just that time of the day is lovely. Sometimes sometimes I get annoyed. Sometimes I feel okay, but I test it to see how am I feeling today as I walk around. I do my little loop.
So it's like you're ahead of us, but you're coming out of this process. Do you feel there's a shift of perspective that's taken place?
I very much so. Like I don't necessarily want to go back to what I had. I find I'm very intolerant of noise now. After having had 8 weeks of silence, I'm going, I don't want this noisy world. I don't have 100% clarity on exactly what, but I working from home is fine, but I miss people. You know what I'm like. I love community. I love contacting with people. I love interaction.
Mm.
It's super hard when we weren't allowed out at all we went out was just to go shopping, and there was all this fear associated with it. There's still fear in people's eyes. You can still see it as you walk around, because we still
Mm.
don't know what's ahead of us. We still don't know what kind of a road we're on. But it's a lot better than it was, you know.
Do you feel that you've claimed your power to some extent through this process?
I think I'm beginning to.
Mm.
It's a journey, but I'm beginning to. Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
If we look back to what your life looked like before the
Oh,
lockdown happened.
it was like busy, busy, busy. I literally couldn't like I was out all the time, running from one place to another. It was just rush, rush, rush. You know, it to a certain extent I'm still busy here at home, but I don't have the outlet for going out. I'm
Mm.
like confined to barracks.
So how does that shift your energy?
I have found that I'm really, really tired, and I think that's more from maybe the mental side of it,
Mm.
because it's very tiring being on the screen all day. I didn't realize, okay, you're saving on the physical thing of having to walk to places, but it's
Mm.
super tiring being in front of a screen all day long. I had no idea it would be so hard.
Mm. Yeah. So we're not in full lockdown unless we actually switch the screens off and go inside.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Like I've been wanting to, I said I'll do a detox, an IT detox, and I haven't done it yet. And this is week 8. I'm still finding, it's like as if I'm putting it on the long finger. Maybe this
Ah,
become,
this might be your call. The public declaration.
yeah,
I can't
I
resist,
feel
can
so, Hannah. I
I?
feel so. Well, we were talking, and you said that's my pattern, and I said she's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I noticed that I'm definitely doing differently is I'm meditating a lot more. I'm meditating in the morning more.
Mm.
I'm meditating at night. I've been doing it like at night now for I've kind of cracked that, and that's kind of something I don't go to bed now without meditating. So it's
Mm.
it's a new thing I've started, which is great.
Amazing. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I can just see how much more stable you are, and how much more radiant even. Yeah. Things are shifting, Madeline, even if you don't
Yeah.
see it.
No, I feel it. I feel it, but maybe not as much as maybe you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm loving the green plant background as well on your screen. It's just such a visual treat for me.
I specifically chose to sit here having my garden behind me. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Okay, I think I'll do. I mean, I've just really enjoyed connecting with you on that.
Likewise, Hannah.
Yeah, and maybe we'll upload this to Facebook if we can, or YouTube or something.
Yeah,
This is not going to stay on the hard drive.
yeah, no problem, no problem. I had no idea what we were going to do, but yeah, yeah, yeah,
Any last thoughts?
yeah. Don't be afraid, and don't give up. Step into
Love
your power, and it'll all be amazing.
it. Bye. Thank you, Madeline.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Hannah.